In this lecture, we're going to talk about population growth and population growth curves. In the next lecture after this, we'll talk about the factors that actually affect the population growth. But this one, we're just going to talk about the population growth itself. Population ecology describes why a population, whatever organism that is the size it is. So why are there 200 elephants in this ecosystem? Why are there only 100 elephants in a different ecosystem? It describes the dynamics of populations and also how they interact with the ecosystem in which they live. So if an animal goes in and eats all the food in an ecosystem, then their population will plummet. So you have this interaction going on. Remember what a population is. So it's a group of individuals of the same species living in the same area at the same time, capable of interacting with each other and mating with each other as well. And population ecology is dependent on the birth rate and the death rate, which is a bit depressing. If the birth rate is more than the death rate, then we'll get an increase in population size. If the birth rate is less and the death rate is more, then we'll get a reduction in population size. If the birth rate is the same as the death rate, then the population will be stable. Population ecology can be shown on a growth curve, and this shows us what happens when a new species is introduced into a new environment. And when you do this, you get a characteristic pattern of the growth curve. Lots of different species. This particular growth curve can occur with buffalo in a massive ecosystem and bacteria in a flask of nutrient broth on your desk. The only thing that will differ between these organisms is the time scale. So bacteria can multiply to millions in a day. Buffalo are going to take hundreds of years. We've got three main stages to a growth curve, which we'll talk about in turn. We have the lag phase. We have the exponential stage, also known as rapid growth phase. And we'll get to a stable phase, which might lead to death phase if the environment is completely changed. And it gives you a classic kind of S-shaped curve for population dynamics. If we start with the lag phase, so this is after you've just introduced the new organism to the ecosystem, we only have a little bit of population growth. And this is because whatever you've just introduced is just getting used to the environment. So it's just getting used to living where it does. It needs to find some place to live, or it needs to find some food. If it mates sexually, it needs to find a partner. If it does mate sexually, because the individuals are not, there's low numbers of individuals, they rarely meet. So you've got only a few matings. So you've got a low low mating, so low reproductive rate. If it's an organism that reproduces asexually, like yeast in the lab, they're just starting to make the enzymes that are needed to digest the food that is present. So you get this classic lag phase. The lag phase is followed by this rapid growth phase or exponential phase. What we have now are no limiting factors to growth. So what this means is we have lots of resources. So food, space, nutrients, water, whatever this organism needs, there's lots of it. Rapid reproduction because of lots of available resources. Low death rates because there's enough food for everybody, so disease rates are low and death rates are low. And this will lead to a rapid increase in population size of the organism. This is then followed by the stationary phase. Stationary phase, we've got slow growth rate. We tend to find that the birth rate is equal to the death rate, so we stay relatively stable. There is increased competition for the resources, competition for food, mates, nutrients, territory. More predators will move into the environment to eat the organism. So you'll get some sort of fluctuating around here, oscillations around here. And in the stationary phase, we reach what we call the carrying capacity. So this is the maximum population size that a particular ecosystem can support. You may find that some organisms kind of destroy where they live, run out of food, run out of nutrients, and they might go into a death phase and have a rapid decline in population size. So to review that type of population dynamics, it's kind of an S curve because it's shaped a little bit like an S. It's logistic growth, and we'll reach the carrying capacity, and hopefully we'll end up with a relatively stable population size in line with the carrying capacity of the environment. And remember, lots of organisms do that. The only thing difference is the time scale, depending on how quickly it takes for these organisms to reproduce. A different type of population growth can be seen on the left here. This is the exponential growth, also called a J curve. And this is actually what the human population is doing of the Earth. So we are, at the moment, we are a rapidly increasing population size on the planet in terms of humans. We are exponentially increasing the amount of humans on the planet. And there's a lot of discussion about how long this can continue and what the carrying capacity of the ecosystem is. What you expect to see with an exponential growth curve is you expect to get to a carrying capacity. We haven't got to the carrying capacity for humans yet, but there's some discussion about whether we are getting close to the carrying capacity of the world for humans. And once you get to the carrying capacity, you will oscillate around the carrying capacity. So you will go over the carrying capacity, then the organism will start to die off. So there'll be competition for food, resources. The overcrowding will mean that diseases, viral diseases, bacterial diseases will spread. And then you'll fall below the carrying capacity, then recover, and then fall back, and then recover. And you may find that even the carrying capacity will fall as you will be destroying whatever resources the organism needs. So you might see this in a J-shaped exponential curve. It's interesting if we look at human population and the numbers of humans on the planet. So here we have number of people on the planet. So 2020, there were 7.8 billion people on the planet. We're in this J curve. And we are looking at what can happen in the future. And people are trying to make predictions on the number of people on the planet and the carrying capacity of the planet. So this is data from the UN, the United Nations, and they are looking at kind of a range of estimates in the future like this, and looking at ways in which we can work to support whatever the human population becomes. Some countries are trying to limit population growth by reducing the number of babies that are born. Other countries which have declining populations like Japan are trying to promote people having more children. But it's really interesting to think of humans when you think about population ecology and what this means for us all on the planet. Thank you.